The ultrasound image sat on Dr. Morris's desk like a ticking bomb. She kept glancing at it, then at my wife Sarah, then back at the screen. Her expression wasn't the warm, reassuring smile I'd seen during our previous appointments. It was something else. "Something careful, Mrs. Chun," she said slowly. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." Watch Sarah's hand tighten around mine. "We've been trying for a baby for 3 years, 3 long years of negative tests, tears. In the bathroom, and that hollow ache that settles in when you want something so desperately but can't have it, and now, finally, Sarah was pregnant. 8 weeks along, we'd told everyone. My parents had cried. Her mother had already started knitting. Ludi's, but Dr. Morris wasn't smiling. "When exactly did you conceive?" she asked. Sarah laughed nervously. "Well, we think it was late July, around the 25th. That's what the app said based on my cycle. Dr. Morris nodded, but her eyes stayed on that screen. "And you're certain about that date?" "Pretty certain," Sarah said. Her voice had gotten smaller. "Why? Is something wrong with the baby?" I leaned forward, my heart starting to pound. "Doctor, what's going on?" Dr. Morris took off her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. 20 years she'd been doing this job. I could see it in the way she moved, like someone who delivered bad news before and hated every second of it. "The measurements don't match," she said quietly. "According to the ultrasound, this baby is about 11 weeks along, not 8. The room tilted. I heard Sarah say something, but it sounded like she was underwater. 11 weeks, that would mean, I counted backward in my head. 11 weeks ago was early July. I was in Singapore for 3 weeks in July, the entire first 3 weeks. "That can't be right," Sarah said quickly, too quickly. "Your equipment must be wrong, or maybe my cycle was off. I've always been irregular." But Dr. Morris wasn't looking at Sarah anymore. She was looking at me. And in that look, I saw pity. "I need to step out for a moment," I heard myself say. My voice sounded strange, flat. "David, wait." Sarah reached for my arm, pulled away. "I just need some air." I walked out of that office and into the bright September afternoon, and I couldn't feel my legs. The parking lot stretched out in front of me, cars glinting in the sun, people walking past with their normal lives, their normal problems. And all I could think was, 11 weeks. My phone buzzed. Sarah calling. I silenced. I'd got in my car and just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. We'd met 7 years ago at a friend's wedding. Sarah had been a bridesmaid, and I'd caught the garter. Everyone had cheered when we took that awkward photo together. Strangers forced into a moment of manufactured romance. But then we talked at the reception, really talked about books and travel and the kind of life we wanted. She'd made me laugh until my sides hurt. 3 months later, I proposed on a beach in Thailand. Our marriage wasn't perfect. Whose is? But it was ours. We fought about stupid things like whose turn it was to take out the trash. We binged Netflix shows together. We'd wake up on Sunday mornings and make pancakes and read the news out loud to each other. And now my phone rang again. This time it was my best friend Marcus. "Hey man, what's up?" His voice was cheerful, normal. "I think Sarah cheated on me." I said. Silence. "What?" I told him everything, the ultrasound, the dates, the look on Dr. Morris's face. My voice sounded robotic, like I was reading a grocery list. David, Marcus said carefully, "You need to talk to her. There could be an explanation." "What explanation?" "Math doesn't lie. Maybe the doctor made a mistake. Those measurements aren't always exact." "Marcus, I was in Singapore for 3 weeks. I wasn't even in the same hemisphere." Another pause. "Shit, yeah? What are you going to do?" I honestly didn't know. I drove around for 2 hours, just driving past our favorite restaurant where we'd celebrated our anniversary, past the park where we decided to start trying for a baby, past the life we'd built together. When I finally came home, Sarah was sitting on the couch. Her eyes were red and swollen. The ultrasound picture was on the coffee table between us, like evidence at a crime scene. "We need to talk," she said. "Yeah, we do." She picked at her nails. It was something she did when she was nervous. I'd seen her do it before job interviews, before meeting my parents for the first time, before our wedding. "Dr. Morris called me after you left," Sarah said. "She apologized. Saeed, the measurements could be off by a week or two." "It's not an exact science. A week or two," I repeated. "Not 3." Sarah's jaw tightened. "So what are you saying, David?" "I'm saying the math doesn't work. I was gone, you were here, and now you're pregnant with a baby that was conceived when I wasn't in the country. You think I cheated on you? It wasn't a question, did you?" The silence stretched between us like a chasm. "How dare you?" she whispered. "How dare you accuse me of that? Then explain it to me, Sarah. Make it make sense." She stood up, tears streaming down her face. I have been trying for 3 years to have your baby. 3 years of negative tests and disappointment and feeling like my body was broken. And now, finally, we're pregnant, and instead of being happy, you're accusing me of... Her voice broke. I can't believe you, she ran upstairs, a door slammed. I sat there in the living room listening to her cry through the ceiling and felt like I was drowning that night. I slept in the guest room. The sheets smelled like the lavender detergent Sarah always used. Everything in this house reminded me of her. Of UC kept running the numbers in my head. I'd left for Singapore on July 2nd, came back July 23rd, Sarah's last period before the pregnancy was when? I tried to remember. She tracked everything in an app. I'd seen her check it obsessively during our trying to conceive months. At 2 I got up and went to her purse. My hands shook as I found her phone. I knew her password. We'd never hidden things from each other, or so I thought. I opened her cycle tracking app. Last period, June 15th. My stomach dropped. If that was true, she would have ovulated around June 29th. I was still here then. We'd made love that week. I remembered because it was right before my trip, so maybe, but then I saw it. A small edit icon next to the June 15th date. I clicked it. Edit. History. Original date entered. July 8th. Change to June 15th. Date of change. Yesterday, September 24th, right after the doctor's appointment, I felt something break inside me, something fundamental. Change the dates after the appointment, after the doctor questioned the timeline Sarah had gone into her app and manually changed her last period date to make the math work. I sat on the bathroom floor with her phone in my hands, and I couldn't breathe. I didn't confront her right away. I should have, but I needed to be sure. I needed more than just an edited app entry, because once I said the words out loud, once I accused my wife of infidelity and lying about the paternity of our baby, there was no taking it back. So I watched and I waited. Sarah started acting different, more attentive. Almost she'd make my favorite meals. She'd curl up next to me on the couch and take my hand. She'd say things like, I know this has been hard, but we're going to be okay. We're going to be parents, David. Isn't that amazing? And every time I'd smile and nod and feel like I was living in a nightmare. I called Dr. Morris's office, asked to speak with her directly. Dr. Morris, I said when she picked up. This is David Chun, Sarah's husband. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Pause. Of course. How accurate are those measurements? The ones that showed 11 weeks instead of 8? She sighed. Mr. Chun, I shouldn't really. Please. Another pause. Longer this time. The measurements are generally accurate within 3 to 5 days. She said quietly, not weeks. When I see a discrepancy of 3 weeks, it usually means one of two things. Either my patient was wrong about their last menstrual period, or the dates don't match the presumed conception date. I finished. Yes, and you've seen this before, in cases of infidelity? Mr. Chun, I really can't. I found her cycle tracking app. I said, my voice cracked. She changed the dates after your appointment. She went in and manually changed when her last period was to make the timeline. FITDR. Morris didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, I'm so sorry. That was all I needed to hear. I hired a lawyer. His name was Richard Park, and he specialized in family law. He had kind eyes and a firm handshake, and when I told him everything, he didn't look surprised. Unfortunately, I see this more often than you'd think. He said, the question is, what do you want to do? I want a paternity test. You can request one, but if your wife refuses, you'll have to wait until after the baby is born. And if I'm not the father, then you have grounds for divorce, and you won't be legally obligated to provide child support for a child that isn't biologically yours. The words felt surreal. Child support, divorce. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. We were supposed to be picking out nursery colors and arguing about baby names and documenting every milestone. There's something else, Richard said. If you suspect infidelity, you may want to gather evidence now. Text messages, emails, credit card statements, anything that might support your case. You want me to spy on my Wi-Fi. I want you to protect yourself. I felt sick doing it, but that night while Sarah was in the shower, I went through her phone again. Nothing in her texts seemed suspicious, mostly just conversations with her sister about baby stuff, messages to her coworkers about projects, a group chat with her college friends. I checked her email, work correspondence, Amazon order confirmations. newsletters. Then I found her second email account. It was connected to her phone, but she'd never mentioned it. The address was email protected. Her maiden name, I opened it. The most recent email was from someone named James Whitfield. The subject line was, "Thinking of you." My hand trembled as I clicked it. "Sarah, I know you said we shouldn't be in contact, but I can't stop thinking about what happened in July. I know your situation is complicated now, but you need to know that I'm here for you. Whatever you decide, I support you. Please call me when you can, Jay." I scrolled down. There were more emails, dozens of them, going back months. June 2nd. "Last night was incredible. When can I see you again?" June 15th. "Your husband is leaving for Singapore soon, right? Come over this weekend." July 5th. "I hate sneaking around like this, but God, Sarah, I've never felt this way about anyone." July 12th. "Are you sure you're not going to tell him? He deserves to know." August 20th. "Your W. Sarah, we need to talk immediately." September 15th. "If it's mine, I want to be involved. I'm not going to just disappear." I read every single email. The shower was still running upstairs, and I sat there on the edge of our bed reading about my wife's affair with James Whitfield, who turned out to be a consultant at her company. They'd started sleeping together in late May, right around the time Sarah had gotten that promotion at work. The timeline was crystal clear in their messages. All the nights working late, all the team-building dinners, all the time she came home smelling like wine and cologne that wasn't mine. And then the pregnancy, the panicked emails between them, her telling him she was going to pass it off as mine, him saying that wasn't right, her saying she had no choice, that she loved her husband, that it was a mistake. The shower turned offy. Forwarded every email to my own account and deleted the sent messages from her phone. Then I put everything back exactly how I'd found it. When Sarah came out of the bathroom in her robe, toweling her hair, I was sitting on the bed exactly where she'd left me. "You okay?" she asked. I looked at my wife, the woman I'd promised forever to, the woman carrying a baby that might not be mine. And I smiled. "Yeah," I said, "just tired." She kissed my forehead. "Get some rest. We have the big ultrasound next week. Can't wait." I said. The confrontation came 3 days later. I'd spent that time gathering everything Richard told me to get: printed emails, bank statements showing Sarah's charges at restaurants and hotels on nights she said she was working late, phone records showing hundreds of texts to a number I'd identified as James Whitfield. Izzy D also hired a private investigator. His name was Tom Chun, no relation, and he'd been following Sarah for 2 days. The photos he gave me showed her meeting James at a coffee shop near her office. In one photo, his hand was on her pregnant stomach. That image lived in my brain like a parasite. I waited until Sarah came home from work. She walked in carrying Thai takeout, her favorite, smiling and chattering about her day. "I got you the drunken noodles you liked," she said, kissing my cheek. "Extra spicy, Sarah." I said, "Sit down." Something in my voice made her freeze. "What's wrong?" "Sit down." She sat slowly on the couch, still holding the takeout bags. I pulled out the manila folder from beside my chair. "I know about James," I said. The color drained from her face. "I know you've been having an affair since May. I know you slept with him while I was in Singapore. I know you're not sure who the father is, and I know you've been lying to me for months." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I slid the folder across the coffee table. "It's all in there. Emails, photos, phone records, hotel receipts, everything." Sarah's hands shook as she opened the folder. I watched her face as she looked through it, the progression from denial to shock to horror to something like resignation. "David," she whispered, "I can explain." "No." My voice was calm. Eerily calm. "You can't, because there's no explanation that makes this okay. You cheated on me. You got pregnant, and then you tried to pass off another man's baby as mine. We don't know if it's his. Then take a paternity test." Silence. "That's what I thought I said." She started crying. "It was a mistake. It meant nothing. I love you, David. I've always loved you. You changed the dates in your cycle app. You looked me in the eye and lied you were going to let me raise another man's child and never tell me the truth." I panicked. I didn't know what to do. "You could have told me the truth, and what? Lose everything? Lose you?" I stood up. "You already lost me the moment you slept with him. Please." She grabbed my hand. "Please, David. We can work through this. People get past affairs. We can go to therapy. I'll do anything. Please don't leave." May looked down at her, my wife, the love of my life, the woman I'd built everything with, and felt absolutely nothing of. "Already filed for divorce." I said. "My lawyer will be in touch." The next few weeks were a blur. I moved out and into Marcus's spare bedroom. Sarah called and texted constantly, crying, begging, making promises Then angry, then cruel, then back to begging. I blocked her number, James. Whitfield tried to reach out to a long email about how sorry he was, how it just happened, how he never meant to hurt anyone. I didn't respond. The divorce proceedings started. Richard was efficient and thorough because we'd been married for 7 years in California, a community property state. Everything would typically be split 50-50ths, but infidelity changed things. We can use the affair as evidence of breach of marital contract, Richard explained, and the attempted paternity fraud is even more serious. She tried to deceive you into accepting financial responsibility for a child that may not be yours. What does that mean? It means you might walk away with more than half, possibly significantly more. I didn't care about the money, honestly. I just wanted out, but Richard insisted we push for everything we were entitled to. Sarah's lawyer tried to negotiate. She'd sign away any claim to my inheritance from my grandfather. She'd accept less in the property settlement. She'd agree to a paternity test after the baby was born. She wants to stay in the house, Richard told me. She says it's important for the baby to have stability. I laughed. It came out bitter. Tell her no way. Went to mediation. It was horrible. Sarah sat across from me, crying, her pregnant belly prominent under a loose sweater, and kept saying, "I'm so sorry," over and over. Her lawyer was a sharp woman named Patricia Gelman who tried every angle. My client made a mistake, but she's carrying a child that may very well be Mr. Chin's. Don't you think the baby deserves consideration? The baby deserves a mother who doesn't lie. I said. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Mr. Chun, let's talk numbers. What would it take for you to settle this quickly and quietly? I want the house, the cars, and I want her to agree to a paternity test immediately after birth, with the understanding that if I'm not the father, she receives nothing from me beyond what's legally required for our marriage. Dissolution, that's unreasonable. That's non-negotiable. Sarah made us sound like a wounded animal. We didn't reach a settlement that day the baby was born in March. A girl, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. I got a text from Sarah's sister. She had the baby, both healthy. Sarah wants you to know. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me, some small stupid part, wanted to go to the hospital to see if the baby had my eyes or my nose or anything that might be mine, but I didn't go. Richard arranged for the paternity test. A simple cheek swab done at the hospital before Sarah and the baby were discharged. Results in 3 to 5 business days. Those 5 days were the longest of my life. I thought I'd prepared myself for either outcome. If she was mine, I'd step up, be a father, figure out co-parenting with someone I couldn't stand to be in the same room with. If she wasn't well, at least I'd know for sure. The results came on a Tuesday. Richard called me. David, I just got the lab report in. You're not the father. I sat down, even though I'd expected it, even though I'd known. Really hearing it out loud was different. David, you there? Yeah, Here, this changes things significantly. According to California law, you have no financial obligation to this child, and we can now demonstrate intentional fraud on Sarah's part, which strengthens our position for the divorce settlement. Okay, there's something else. James Whitfield has stepped forward. He's acknowledged paternity and wants to establish custody rights. I almost laughed. Good for him. The final divorce hearing was in May, nearly a year after Sarah had first gotten pregnant, nearly a year since my entire life had imploded in a doctor's office. We stood before Judge Marianne Foster in a courtroom that smelled like old wood and disappointment. Sarah looked exhausted. Motherhood and guilt had aged her. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Judge Foster reviewed the evidence, the affair, the paternity test, results, the edited cycle app, the emails. Mrs. Chun, she said, her voice stern, do you have anything to say for yourself? Sarah's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client deeply regrets her actions. She made mistakes, yes, but she's trying to do right by her daughter. She attempted to pass off as Mr. Chun's. Judge Foster interrupted. A daughter she would have allowed him to support financially and emotionally under fraudulent pretenses. Your Honor, I've seen a lot in this courtroom, Miss Gelman, but this level of deception is particularly egregious. She looked at Sarah. You betrayed your husband's trust in the most fundamental way. You committed paternity fraud, and even when caught, you continued to lie. Sarah was crying silently. Judge Foster turned to me. Mr. Chun, you're seeking full possession of the marital home, both vehicles and 70% of the shared assets. Yes, Your Honor. Any alimony requests from either party? None, Your Honor. Richard said my client just wants a clean break. The judge reviewed her notes then. I'm granting Mr. Chun's petition in full. The house vehicles and 70% of shared assets go to him. Mrs. Chun will retain 30% and her separate property. No alimony awarded. To either party, this marriage is dissolved. She banged the gavel. It was over. Sarah tried to talk to me in the hallway after. David, please. Can we just, there's nothing to say, Sarah. I know I hurt you. I know I destroyed everything. But I need you to understand. What? That you're sorry? That it was a mistake? I don't care anymore. She flinched. She's beautiful, the baby. Her name is Emma. Good for her. You want to see a picture or no? I looked at her directly for the first time in months. She's not my daughter. Sarah, she's James's. She's your responsibility, not mine. We're done. I walked away and didn't look back. Moving forward took time. More time than I thought it would. The house felt empty at first. Every room echoed with memories I was trying to forget. I'd walk past the spare bedroom we'd talked about turning into a nursery and feel this hollow ache in my chest. Not for the baby that wasn't mine, but for the life I'd imagined, the future I'd planned. Marcus stayed with me for the first month. He'd come home from work and find me sitting in the dark, staring at nothing. You gotta eat, man, he'd say, putting takeout containers on the coffee table. Not hungry doesn't matter, eat anyway. He was a good friend. The kind who shows up even when you're terrible. Company who doesn't try to fix you with motivational speeches. Just sits there and watches basketball with you in silence. My parents called constantly. My mother kept saying things like, there are other fish in the sea and everything happens for a reason. I know she meant well, but every platitude felt like nails on a chalkboard. My father was different. He came over one Saturday, unannounced, with his toolbox. What are you doing? I asked. The deck's been rotting for 2 years. We're fixing it. We spent the entire day ripping out old boards and hammering in new ones. He didn't ask how I was feeling, didn't mention Sarah or the divorce we just worked. And somehow that helped more than any conversation could have. By the time the sun set, my hands were blistered and my back ached, but the deck was solid. New good work, my father said, packing up his tools. Thanks for coming over. He put his hand on my shoulder. Just for a moment. You're going to be okay. Sony wasn't sure I believed him, but I wanted to work. Became my escape. I threw myself into projects, stayed late at the office, volunteered for assignments no one else wanted. My boss Patricia noticed. David, you've been working 70-hour weeks, she said, catching me at my desk one evening. That's not sustainable. I'm fine. You're burning out. I'm mandating you take next week off. You don't need. It's not a request. So I took the week off, and I had no idea what to do with myself. Marcus suggested a road trip. Just you, me, and the Pacific Coast Highway. We'll drive, listen to terrible music, eat at greasy diners. It'll be good. I don't know, David. When's the last time you did something just because you wanted to? Not because you had to or because someone expected you to? I couldn't remember exactly. We leave Monday. That road trip saved me in ways I didn't expect. We drove north from San Diego, windows down, wind whipping through the car. Marcus had made a playlist of songs from college, terrible, early 2000s rock that we'd blasted at parties. We sang along badly, and for the first time in months I laughed, really laughed. We stopped at a tiny beach town called Cayucos, population 2,000. Nothing there but a pier, some surf shops, and a diner that served the best clam chowder I'd ever had. This is perfect, Marcus said, sitting on the beach watching the sunset. No drama, no ex-wives, just waves and seagulls and terrible coffee. I added, taking a sip from the cup we'd gotten at the diner. Hey, terrible coffee builds character. We sat there until the stars came out, and for the first time since that ultrasound appointment, I felt something besides anger and hurt. I felt peace, not complete peace, not healed, but something, a glimpse of what life might feel like on the other side of this. Thanks for dragging me out here, I said. Marcus shrugged. That's what friends do. When I got back, I made some changes. I joined a gym, started running in the mornings. The physical exhaustion felt good, clean, productive, something I could control. I signed up for a cooking class. It sounds stupid, but Sarah had always done most of the cooking. I'd gotten by on frozen meals and takeout since the divorce, and I was tired of it. The class met Tuesday nights at a community center. There were 8 of us, mostly women in their 50s and 60s, plus me and one other guy named Derek who just retired. Our instructor was a cheerful woman named Rosa who had zero patience for mistakes, but somehow made you feel good about making them anyway. No, she'd say, swooping in to correct my knife technique. You're going to cut your finger off. Like this, see? Curl your fingers, the knife is your friend, but only if you respect ID. Learn to make risotto and coq au vin and pasta from scratch, and every Tuesday night for those 3 hours I didn't think about Sarah or James or paternity tests. I just focused on not burning the garlic derrick and I became friends. He'd been married for 35 years before his wife passed from cancer. He didn't talk about it much, but when he did, there was this weight in his voice. The missing doesn't go away, he told me one night while we cleaned up. You just get better at carrying it. How long did it take? To feel normal again? He thought about it. Define normal if you mean exactly like before. Then never, but if you mean able to laugh and live and find joy again, maybe a year, maybe two. Everyone's different. That's a long time, yeah? But you know what? You've got time and you've got a choice. You can let this destroy you or you can let it rebuild you into something different, something stronger. I wanted to believe him. The holidays were hard. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all the milestones that highlighted the empty space where my marriage used to be. My parents invited me to spend Thanksgiving with them. My sister and her family would be there, her husband Greg, their 2 kids. The last time I'd seen them was at a family barbecue right after Sarah and I had announced the pregnancy. Everyone had been so excited now. I had to show up alone and face their pity Uncle David. My nephew Tommy launched himself at me the moment I walked in. Hey, buddy. I caught him, grateful for the distraction. Mom said, you're not married anymore. Does that mean Aunt Sarah isn't coming to Christmas? The room went silent. Tommy, my sister said sharply. We talked about this. It's okay, I said, setting him down. Nobody. Aunt Sarah won't be at Christmas. We're not married anymore. Why not? Tommy, sometimes grown-ups decide they're better as friends than as married people. I said it wasn't exactly a lie, more like a massive oversimplification. Oh, okay, can we play Mario Kart? Absolutely. I spent the next hour being thoroughly destroyed by a 7-year-old at video games, and it was exactly what I needed. Later, while my sister and I were doing dishes, she said, you don't have to pretend, it's fine. You know, we're family. I know she really hurt you. Yeah, she did. Are you doing okay? Honestly, I thought about it. Some days are good, some days are terrible, but I'm getting through it. She hugged me. I'm proud of you. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that. In February, almost a year after Emma was born, I ran into Sarah at the grocery store. I was in the produce section trying to remember if Rosa had said to use yellow or white onions for French onion soup. When I heard a baby crying, I turned around and there she was, Sarah, pushing a cart with a car seat attached. Inside the car seat was Emma, red-faced and wailing. Sarah looked frazzled, her hair in a messy bun, wearing sweatpants and what looked like a stained t-shirt. Her eyes met for a moment. Neither of us moved then. Emma's crying got louder and Sarah fumbled in her diaper bag for a pacifier. Sorry, she said automatically. She's teething. It's fine. The baby took the pacifier and quieted down. Sarah's shoulders sagged with relief. Then she looked at me again, really looked, and her eyes filled with tears. David, don't, I said quietly. Please, I want you to know I'm sorry for everything, every single day. I wish I could go back. And Sarah, I have to go. She looks like him, Sarah said suddenly. Emma, she has James's eyes, his nose. There's not a day that goes by that I don't see what I did reflected back at me. I didn't know what to say to that. Are you happy? I asked with James. She laughed, but it came out broken happy. I don't even know what that means anymore. He proposed last month. I said yes, because what else am I going to do? I destroyed my marriage. For him, I have his child. I might as well see it through. That's a terrible reason to get married. Yeah, well, I make terrible decisions. You of all people know that. Emma started fussing again. Sarah picked her up, bouncing her, automatically looking at them. This woman I'd loved and the baby that wasn't mine? I felt nothing, no anger, no hurt, just a distant sadness for something that had died a long time ago. Hope you figure it out. I said, I really don't have it. Goodbye, Sarah. I walked away with my yellow onions and didn't look back. That night I called my therapist I'd been seeing, Dr. Patel, for 6 months, working through the anger and betrayal and gruff. I ran into Sarah today. I told him, how did that feel? Empty, like seeing a stranger who happens to look like someone I used to know. That's significant growth, David, is it? Because it also feels sad, like I should feel more anger or pain or something. Why? Because I don't know, because we were married for 7 years? Because that should mean something? It does mean something. It means you loved someone and they betrayed that love and you've done the work to heal from it. Healing doesn't mean you have to carry the pain forever. It means you've processed it and moved past. ID sat with that, she said. She's marrying James that she doesn't even know if she's happy. How does that make you feel? Honestly, I feel bad for her. She destroyed her marriage and mine for something that clearly isn't making her happy. That's sad. It is sad, but it's also not your responsibility anymore. I know, to you. Because I hear guilt in your voice, David, like you think you should do something. He was right. Some small part of me, the part that had loved Sarah, that had wanted to build a life with her, still wanted to fix things, to make it okay somehow. I can't save her, I said out loud, and I shouldn't want to exactly. You're allowed to move on. You're allowed to be happy without feeling guilty about it. What if I don't know how to be happy anymore? Then you learn. One small thing at a time. What made you happy this week? I thought about it. The cooking class. I made beef bourguignon and didn't burn it. Rosa said it was actually edible, which from her is high praise. Dr. Patel laughed. There you go. That's how you start. Spring came, and with it a strange sense of renewal. The house no longer felt like a mausoleum of my failed marriage. It felt like mine. I'd repainted the living room a warm gray, replaced the couch where Sarah and I used to watch TV hung new artwork. Pieces I picked out myself, not the safe neutrals. Sarah had insisted on. Marcus helped me build a raised garden bed in the backyard. Since when do you garden? He asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. Since I need a hobby that doesn't involve dwelling on my failed marriage. Fair enough. What are you planting? Tomatoes, peppers, some herbs for cooking. Look at you becoming domestic. Shut up and hand me that drill. We finished the bed and planted everything. I had no idea if it would work. I'd never gardened before in my life, but there was something satisfying about digging in the dirt, planting seeds, and believing they might actually grow into something. June Rose's cooking class ended with a graduation dinner each of us had to prepare. A full 3-course meal for the group. I made butternut squash soup, herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables, and tiramisu. The tiramisu was Derek's recipe, his wife's actually. He'd walked me through it the week before, his hands shaking slightly as he measured out the espresso sheet. Made this for my birthday every year, he said quietly. 42 times I got to eat her tiramisu. I'd give anything for one more. I'd practiced 3 times to get it right. When I served it at the dinner, Derek took one bite and his eyes went wet. You nailed it, he said. She'd be proud. Rosa made a big show of critiquing everyone's dishes, but when she got to mine, she just nodded approvingly. You've come a long way, David. First class. You couldn't dice an onion without crying. Now, look at you, cooking like someone who actually cares about what goes on the plate. Thanks, Rosa. You going to keep it up? Or was this just divorce therapy? I laughed. Maybe a little of both, but yeah, I'll keep it up after dinner. Derek pulled me aside. I'm moving, he said. My daughter wants me closer. She's in Portland. Got a little grandbaby coming in August. Derek, that's great. Yeah, it's time, but I wanted to give you something before I go. He handed me a worn cookbook. The cover was held together with tape and post-it notes stuck out from dozens of pages. These are my wife's recipes, he said, the ones she perfected over 40 years. The tiramisu's in there, obviously, but also her pot roast, her apple pie, her Christmas cookies. I've made copies for my kids, but I want you to have this one. Derek, I can't. Yes, you can. Because you're going to keep cooking, you're going to keep living, and one day maybe you'll make these for someone special, and you'll tell them about the old widower who taught you that food is love, made edible. I hugged him, this man I'd only known for 6 months, but who'd somehow become one of my closest friends. Thank you, I managed to say. Thank you for letting me teach you. Turns out I needed something to pass on more than you needed someone to learn from. July rolled around, and with it came the anniversary. 2 years since I'd left for Singapore, 2 years since Sarah had started her affair. I thought about marking it somehow, maybe taking the day off work or going somewhere meaningful, but in the end, I just lived, went to work, hit the gym, made dinner from Derek's cookbook, his wife's famous pot roast, which took 4 hours and filled the house with the most incredible smell. Marcus came over to help me eat it. This is insane, he said around a mouthful. You've gotten really good at this. Thanks. So real talk. How are you doing with everything? Honestly, I'm okay. Not perfect, but okay. You seeing anyone? I shook my head. Not ready yet. Fair, but you know you're allowed to write? Like whenever you're ready, you're allowed to move. Only no to you, though? Because I feel like you're still punishing yourself somehow. Like you think if you're happy, it means Sarah wins or something. I thought about that. Maybe I don't know. It's complicated. It doesn't have to be she betrayed you, you handled it, you got out. Now you get to live your life that's not complicated. That's justice. When did you become so wise? I've always been wise. You've just been too messed up to notice. I threw a roll at him in September. Rosa from cooking class invited me to a dinner party. Her daughter was visiting from New York and she wanted to introduce her to some of her favorite studentium, not really a party person. I told her over the phone, David. Chen, you will come to my house, eat my food, and be social. This is not a request, so I went. Rosa's house was warm and chaotic, filled with the smell of roasting meat and laughter. There were maybe 15 people there, former students, Rosa's family, some neighbors, and there was Michelle. She was Rosa's daughter, tall and elegant with laugh lines around her eyes. She taught third grade in Brooklyn and was home for 2 weeks visiting her. Mom, so you're the one who made Mom's legendary tiramisu, she said, cornering me by the wine table. Guilty, though honestly the recipe did most of the work. Mom doesn't give out that recipe to just anyone. She must really like you. I think she feels sorry for me, actually. Why is that? And somehow standing in Rosa's kitchen with a glass of wine and this woman I'd just met, I told her not everything, but the basics, the failed marriage, the affair, the divorce. Wow. Michelle said when I finished, I'm sorry, that's brutal. Yeah, it was, but I'm doing better now, clearly. You're at dinner parties making small talk with strangers. That's pretty advanced divorce guy behavior. I laughed. Is there a ranking system? Oh, absolutely. You start at refusing to leave the house, then you graduate to leaving the house, but only to buy groceries, then social outings with friends you trust. And finally, dinner parties with strangers. You're killing it. What's the next level? Actually enjoying yourself, and after that? She smiled. After that? You're healed and you get to start a whole new chapter. We talked for 2 hours about teaching, about cooking, about her life in New York and mine in California. She was funny and smart and easy to talk to, and when the party wound down and people started leaving, she handed me her phone. Put your number, and I'm here for another week, and I'd love to grab coffee if you're interested. I was interested. We got coffee the next day and lunch the day after that, and dinner 2 days later. On her last night before flying back to New York, we walked on the beach where Marcus and I had stopped during our road trip 2 years ago. I like you, David, Michelle said, stopping to face me. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink behind her, and I think you like me too, but I also think you're scared. I admitted, I don't know if I trust myself anymore. My judgment, I married someone who lied to me for months, and I had no idea that wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? Shouldn't I have seen the signs? Maybe she was really good at hiding them? Either way, you can't let what one person did destroy your ability to trust anyone else. That's letting her win. Everyone keeps saying that because it's true. David, I'm not Sarah. I'm not going to lie to you or cheat on you or do any of the things she did. But I also can't prove that to you right now. Trust isn't something you can logic your way into. It's a choice. What if I make the wrong choice again? Then you'll survive it like you did before, but what if you make the right choice? What if you miss out on something really good because you're too afraid to try? I looked at this woman I'd known for a week and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope I live in New York. She said, you live here. The logistics are terrible, but I think you're worth terrible logistics. If you want to try, I do. I said, I want to try. He kissed me soft and sweet and full of promise, and for the first time since that doctor's appointment 2 years ago, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I was going to be okay. Michelle and I dated long distance for 8 months. We FaceTimed every night. I flew to New York twice. She came back to California for Thanksgiving and Christmas. It wasn't easy. There were moments when the distance felt impossible, when I'd wake up alone and feel that familiar ache of loneliness. There were moments when my brain would whisper that this couldn't last, that I was setting myself up for another heartbreak, but Dr. Patel helped me work through. The anxiety is understandable, he said during one session. You were traumatized. Your brain is trying to protect you from being hurt again. But Michelle isn't Sarah, and this relationship isn't that. How do I make my brain understand that? By consistently showing it evidence that contradicts the fear every time Michelle does what she says she do every time. She's honest with you every time she chooses you. That's data. Eventually you're Brain will start to trust the new pattern more than it fears the old one. He was right. Slowly, painfully slowly, I started to believe that this was real, that Michelle meant what she said, that not everyone would betray. Main March, she got offered a job in San Francisco, better pay, better school, and only an hour's drive from May. Didn't take it yet, she said over FaceTime, because I wanted to talk to you first. I don't want you to feel pressured or like I'm moving here for you, and then if things don't work out, I'll resent you or take the job. I said, you're sure? I'm sure. Take the job, move here. Let's do this for real. She smiled, and it lit up my whole screen. Okay, yeah, I'm doing this, Michelle. Moved to California in May. We took things slow. She got her own apartment in San Francisco, kept her space, her independence. But we spent most weekends together trading off who made the drive. She fit into my life in ways I didn't expect. She got along with. Marcus made my mother laugh, and even charmed my skeptical sister. She loved the cooking I'd learned appreciated. Derek's recipe book, and added her own touches to the garden that had somehow managed to produce actual vegetables. You know what's different about you? Marcus said. One day while we were playing basketball, you laugh again, like really laugh. I didn't realize how much I'd missed that. Yeah, I said I missed it too. In July, 3 years after Sarah's affair, I proposed to Michelle, not on a beach or at some fancy restaurant, just in my kitchen on a random Tuesday night after we'd made dinner together. She was washing dishes, humming along to a song on the radio, and I looked at her and just knew. Marry me, I said. She turned around, hands covered in soap suds. What? Marry me. Please, I know it's fast, and I know I come with baggage, and I know I'm probably supposed to do this with a ring and a plan, but I don't want to wait. I love you, I trust you, and I want to spend my life with you. She started crying, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, she said. Yes, absolutely. Yes, we got married in October. Small ceremony in Rosa's backyard. Just family and close friends. Rosa catered, obviously, and the food was incredible. My father gave a toast that made everyone cry. Marcus served as best man and only embarrassed me a little bit. Michelle's students had made us a banner that said, "Congratulations, Mr. C's wife." It was perfect, simple and honest and real. That night, lying in bed with my wife, I thought about everything that had led to this moment: the betrayal, the divorce, the pain of rebuilding, the cooking classes and road trips and therapy sessions and late-night phone calls with Michelle when the distance felt impossible. What are you thinking about, Michelle? Asked, her head on my chest. How grateful I am for all of it, even the bad parts. Yeah, because if Sarah hadn't cheated, if Dr. Morris hadn't caught the timeline discrepancy, if I hadn't fought for the truth and walked away, I never would have found you. I'm glad you did find me. I mean, me too. She fell asleep, but I stayed awake a while longer, thinking about Sarah and James and Emma, wondering if they were happy, hoping in a distant way that they'd figured it out, but mostly just feeling grateful for second chances, for people like Marcus and Rosa and Derek who'd shown up when I needed them, for Dr. Patel and his endless patience, for my family who'd loved me through the worst of it, and for Michelle who'd taken a chance on a broken man and helped him remember how to be whole. That was 5 years ago. Now Michelle and I have 2 kids, a son named Derek after my friend who taught me that grief doesn't have to be the end, and a daughter named Grace, because after everything, Grace is what saved me. We still live in the house that used to be Sarah's and mine, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. It's ours. Every room has been touched and changed and filled with new memories. Derek's recipe book holds a place of honor in the kitchen. Splattered with sauce and worn from use, I still cook. Michelle and I take turns making dinner, and we're teaching the kids. Derek at 4 is convinced he's a master chef because he can crack eggs without getting shell in the bowl. I heard through the grapevine that Sarah and James got divorced 2 years ago. Apparently the relationship that started with sneaking around and passion burned out fast when faced with the reality of mortgage payments and a colicky baby and all the mundane struggles of actual life. Part of me felt vindicated when I heard, but mostly I just felt sad, not for her, for Emma. Another child of divorce, another kid shuttled between parents, another family broken, but that's not my story anymore. My story is Saturday morning. Pancakes with Derek, trying to flip them too early and making a mess. It's Grace taking her first steps while Michelle and I cheer like she's won an Olympic medal. It's family dinners where everyone talks at once and no one can hear anything, but somehow it's perfect anyway. It's choosing to trust again even when you're scared. It's learning that betrayal doesn't have to define you. It's understanding that the end of one story can be the beginning of another. Dr. Morris, retired last year. I sent her a thank you card. You changed my life by asking the right questions at the right time. I wrote, thank you for caring enough to notice something was wrong. She wrote back, you changed your life by being brave enough to face the truth. I was just the messenger. Maybe we were both right. People ask me sometimes if I've forgiven Sarah. The truth is, I don't know. Forgiveness is complicated. I don't wish her harm. I don't think about her much anymore. When I do, it's more like remembering a character from a book I read a long time ago, someone who seems familiar but distant. Forgiven myself, though, for not seeing it sooner, for trusting someone who didn't deserve it, for all the ways I thought I'd failed because I didn't fail, she did, and that distinction matters. What happened to me was awful. Betrayal cuts deep, leaves scars that take years to heal. But it didn't destroy me, it changed me. Yes, made me more careful, more aware, more protective of my heart. But it also made me stronger, more appreciative of honesty and trust and love that doesn't come with conditions. It taught me that rock bottom isn't the end, it's just a place to push off from, a starting point for climbing back up. Last week, Derek came home from preschool with a craft project, a family tree made from construction paper and glue stick. This is you, Daddy, he said, pointing to a stick figure. And this is Mommy, and this is me and Grace. We're a family, we sure. Our buddy teacher asked if I had another mommy before, like if you were married before. Mommy, my stomach tightened. What did you say? I said, I don't know, were you? Michelle caught my eye from across the room. We talked about this, about when and how to tell the kids about my first marriage. We decided on age-appropriate honesty. I said, kneeling down to his level, I was married to someone else before your mom, but it didn't work out. Sometimes grown-ups think they're right for each other, but they're not, and that's okay. Because if I'd stayed with her, I never would have met your mom, and then you and Grace wouldn't be here. He thought about this seriously. I'm glad you met Mommy. Me too, buddy, me too. He went back to his craft project satisfied, and I looked at Michelle, this woman who'd seen all my broken pieces and loved me anyway, and felt overwhelmingly grateful. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you for listening. I know it's been long, I know it's been heavy, but I wanted you to understand the whole journey. Not just the dramatic parts, but the slow, painful rebuilding that came after, because that's the part people don't talk about enough. Everyone focuses on the betrayal, the confrontation, the courtroom drama, but healing is quiet. It happens in cooking classes and therapy sessions and late-night conversations with friends who refuse to let you give up. It happens when you choose to trust again, even though you're terrified. When you let someone new see your scars and don't flinch when they touch them gently. When you wake up one morning and realize you've gone a whole week without thinking about what happened. Dr. Morris felt something was off and uncovered Sarah's secret, but I'm the one who chose what to do with that information. I could have stayed, could have convinced myself that raising another man's child was noble somehow, that love meant sacrifice, even when it meant sacrificing my dignity. A lot of people would have said that was the right thing to do, the strong thing, the mature thing, but I chose myself, I chose truth, I chose a future that wasn't built on lies, and that made all the difference. The garden is doing well this year. Tomatoes heavy on the vine, peppers turning from green to red, basil so fragrant it perfumes the whole backyard. Derek and Grace help me water it every evening there. Small hands careful with the watering. Why do we have to water them every day? Grace asks, because that's how they grow, a little bit of care every single day. Eventually you get something beautiful. She nods like this is the most profound wisdom she's ever heard. She's 3, everything is profound at 3, but as I watch her toddle back to the house, I realize it is profound. That is the lesson. That's what I've learned. Healing is like gardening. You can't do it all at once. You can't force it or rush it. You just show up every day and do the small things, water the plants, go to therapy, call your friends, cook a good meal, put one foot in front of the other, and eventually, with time and care and patience, something beautiful grows. So here I am. 5 years, countless therapy sessions, 2 kids, and one incredible second chance later, still standing, still growing, still learning. The doctor uncovered Sarah's secret, yes, but I uncovered something too, something about myself, about my strength, my worth, my capacity to heal and love and trust again. That's the real story, not the betrayal, not the divorce, not even the happy ending with Michelle and the kids. The real story is the choice to keep going, to believe that better was possible, to trust that the universe had something good waiting for me on the other side of all that pain. And I was right. If you're going through something similar right now, if someone has betrayed you or lied to you or broken your heart into so many pieces you don't know how you'll ever put it back together, I want you to know something. You will survive this. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. There will be days when getting out of bed feels impossible, days when you're angry and days when you're sad and days when you're just numb, but those days will pass, and slowly, so slowly, you might not notice at first, you'll start to feel human again. You'll laugh at a joke, you'll enjoy a meal, you'll watch the sunset and actually see it instead of just staring through it. And one day, maybe months or years from now, you'll realize you're happy. Actually genuinely happy, not getting through it or doing okay happy. That's when you'll know you made it. The kids are calling me, dinner's ready. Michelle made her famous chicken pot pie and the house smells incredible. 4. I go, I'll leave you with this. Trust your instincts. Demand the truth even when it hurts. Set boundaries that protect your dignity. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them, but also give yourself permission to heal, to move on, to love again, to trust again, to build a life that's even better than the one you lost. You deserve that. Everyone does, even those of us who've been lied to and cheated on and had our whole world imploded by an ultrasound measurement, especially us, because we know what it's like to hit rock bottom, and we know what it takes to climb back up, and that knowledge, that hard-won, painful, beautiful knowledge, makes us stronger than we ever were before. Dr. Morris uncovered Sarah's secret, but the real discovery was this: I could survive anything, I could rebuild anything, I could love again, trust again, believe in forever again. So can you thank you for letting me share my story. I hope it helps someone out there who's going through their own darkness. Remember, this isn't the end, it's just a new beginning, and who knows, your next chapter might be even better than you ever imagined. Mine certainly was. If you enjoyed this story and found something meaningful in it, please consider liking and subscribing for more true stories about love, loss, betrayal, and the incredible human capacity to heal and start over. We all have stories. Some break us, some rebuild us. All of them matter. Thank you for listening to mine.